Force is on record as saying, quote, they want to control the weather by 2025, and we are not talking about just seeding the clouds for rain. Of April this year, there are more than 150 different weather modification programs around the world. Since about 2000, the Department of Defense and the Department of Energy have been spraying the entire United States sky with the toxic brew of chemicals and other biologic agents. Military and some commercial jets have been fitted with huge barrels of at least 49 different kinds of documented chemical poisons. Among other documented ingredients in this toxic man-made clouds are pathogenic molds, fungi, weaponized viruses, and made in some places like the secret site at Fort Detrick, Maryland, which is supposed to be a cancer site. But there are a number of scholars and professors tracking this that have big questions about this. Barium and nanoaluminum particles. What do these do to the human body? Barium is an alkaline earth mineral. It was discovered in 1774. At low doses, it can act as a muscle stimulant. At high doses, it detrimentally affects the heart and the nervous system. Barium is toxic to all mammals, and that means not just humans. Aluminum, which is the most abundant metal in the Earth's crust, is known to diminish kidney function and destroy brain cells and cognitive function. Just think about it. Just between the aluminum and the mercury that we're breathing all the time, we've got already a serious issue about brain function and cognitive function.
Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
Go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work?
Using a home freezing unit such as this, which has a temperature of around 0 Fahrenheit, we can form supercool clouds just like those in the natural atmosphere by breathing into the box. The moist air from the breath condenses and forms a cloud, and this cloud cools to a temperature of about 0 degrees Fahrenheit in a few seconds. Any moist thing placed in this box will produce such a cloud. By putting this cloud in the chamber, we can then do various things to it to see whether or not we can convert this supercool cloud to snow. This cloud is made up of liquid water droplets. They are not snow crystals as yet. But by taking a tiny piece of dry ice such as this and scratching it so a few tiny fragments fall into the supercool cloud, long streaks develop just like the vapor trail from an airplane. These contain millions and millions of tiny submicroscopic snow crystals which grow very fast and assume exactly the central snowflakes show in an ordinary snowstorm. The particles grow very fast. They grow about 1 billion-fold in volume in a few seconds. And if it were possible to keep them supported in the air, they would grow very large, just like the snow crystals that fall from the sky on a cold winter's day. By applying more moisture to the cloud, the particles grow. Since the water droplets evaporate over onto the ice crystal, we say that the vapor pressure of water is higher than the vapor pressure of ice crystals. Therefore, the water all disappears onto the ice crystals. The ice crystals that you see here are scintillating, and the colors are produced by the fact that they're tiny prisms and separate light into its various colors. By just flinging a piece of paper through the chamber, we can remove the cloud of snow crystals and go right back and form another supercool cloud such as you see me doing here. Then this time I'm going to just take a small ordinary sewing needle, cool below minus 35 degrees centigrade, and pass it briefly through the clouds. When I do this, again, many millions of snow crystals form, and we get the same effect as is produced by dry ice. Dry ice is not particularly, as far as the fact that it's CO2, it's primarily important because the use of it is primarily important because it's colder than minus 35 degrees centigrade. The scintillations of the crystals cause them to appear round in the camera or in the photograph because they tumble around and therefore draw a circular area. They're actually tiny hexagonal plates and tiny hexagonal columns, like those which form in the high levels of the atmosphere. After they've been in the chamber for a short time, since they're growing very rapidly, they fall out. Here you see a close-up of these very beautiful twinkling crystals, and they are very beautiful to see. They're not flying saucers, they're just ordinary snow crystals, which are scintillating in the very brilliant light and settling toward the bottom of the box. The size of them is the order of 5/1000 of an inch. Mostly hexagonal plates in this case, very much like these. At last has permitted us to do a little something about the weather. These are some which I photographed that were formed in the laboratory. This is a picture of the first cloud that we seeded back last November. Flying in a small Fairchild plane and putting dry ice from a small dispenser in the bottom of the plane, we put about 6 pounds of dry ice into this 4-mile cloud, and within a very few minutes saw long streamers of snow falling from the base of the cloud and evaporating into the drier air below. Under many conditions, of course, full-fledged snowstorms will be produced in this way. Where